the Google Pixel 6, one of the most hyped phones of 2021 and certainly a conversation starter. This was the year Google decided to switch up their smartphone strategy and come out with something more appealing to the public, a phone people would remember. So they made two phones this year, Pixel 6 and the Pixel 6 Pro, but we all know which phone Google wanted to make the winner. At a starting price of $599, the Google Pixel 6 was created to fill an empty void in the smartphone industry, the flagship killer. OnePlus is long gone from the segment now, so Google has taken this opportunity to step up and claim their throne. So, how'd they do? Well, for starters, Google really took a giant step forward in terms of design. The past phones have always been boring and safe, similar to other phones on the market, but that all changes with the Pixel 6. They scrapped the cameras on the upper left and instead slapped on a giant horizontal camera bar that goes completely across the phone, making it look like an Among Us character. Now, I admit, it looks a little weird at first, but the design does grow on you once you get used to it. This also makes the phone stand out and gives it a unique identity, just like the iPhone notch. The camera bar is actually very practical too, as there's no more wobble when the phone is on a table, and it also acts as a ledge for your fingers to rest on when holding the phone. The buttons are also super clicky and satisfying to use, even in a case. I really wish Google had continued with their iconic colored power buttons, but hey, at least they still have their classic two-tone colorway. I got my phone in coral, but the seafoam green also looks amazing. However, the phone is so slippery that you need to get a case for it, or else... Just kidding, I would never ever drop my phone, but you know what I would drop? A segment to tell you more about the sponsor of the video, PrivateOVPN. Ever wondered how you can protect yourself on public Wi-Fi, whether you're in a coffee shop or trying to use some sketchy free Wi-Fi you found? Ever wondered how you can stream content from another country? Well, lucky for you, there is a free solution to that, PrivateOVPN. PrivateOVPN is a zero-log VPN service dedicated to user privacy and fast connection speeds, with server locations in over 47 countries. PrivateOVPN is available on Windows, Android, macOS, iOS, both Fire and Android TV, and works with all streaming services including Netflix, Disney+, Amazon Prime, and many, many more. You can try it for free with 10 gigabytes of data every month with no ads, speed limits, or data logging. Check the link in the description below to sign up for a free account and protect yourself in the public. Alright, back to you, Fenson. So, as you just saw, buy a case for the phone before it ships. Anyways, moving on. How does the phone actually feel when you use it? Not gonna lie, the phone is a little big and chunky for a 6.4-inch display, and it kinda reminds me of the Samsung Note. It's got quite a little bit of weight to it, and it took me quite a while to get used to it, especially coming from the Pixel 2 XL that's around 30 grams lighter. The display is fairly good too, but it's clear that Google had to cut some corners from the 6 Pro to hit that lower price bracket. The bezels are quite thick on each side, but personally it was something that I quickly overlooked once I actually used the phone. The colors are also punchy and vibrant, and 1080p is perfectly fine for a phone. It's great that they managed to include a 90Hz panel though, because it really makes the experience feel buttery smooth. The only real issue I have with the display is the brightness. Auto brightness is a little iffy indoors, and in harsh sunlight, the screen does become a little difficult to see. Another disappointment is the lack of face recognition on a phone that came out in 2021. That could be forgiven, however, if the in-screen fingerprint sensor was up to standards with the rest of the market, but it's not. It's gotten better in the latest software updates, but the experience is still not great, and it gets even worse if you apply a screen protector. If you do install a screen protector on the phone though, make sure to toggle on the increased touch sensitivity switch in the display settings. Other than that, the rest of the hardware experience feels phenomenal. Haptics are such a tiny little detail, but they really make or break the experience of a phone, and on the Pixel 6, they're absolute perfection. The vibrations feel sharp and precise, and just have the right level of tactility. I also really enjoyed watching movies, TV shows, and playing games on the phone thanks to the dual speakers on the top and bottom. They sound really balanced without any distortion at high volumes, although they aren't as loud as other phones. Now, when the phone first came out, it was filled with bugs. My first few weeks with the phone was an absolutely terrible experience, which you can see in my first impressions video up here. But thankfully, the December update had over 100 bug fixes, and while it completely transformed my experience with this phone, it doesn't give Google any excuses for releasing a half-finished phone. Luckily, I got the update around mid-December, and now the performance is as expected of a flagship device, but it still does get warm to the touch from time to time. And even after 2 months of usage, battery life is still pretty unpredictable sometimes, as I'm getting 5 hours on some days and up to 8 hours of screen on time on others. Once the bugs are gone though, Android 12 is an absolute treat to use. The Material You theme that forms around the color palette of the wallpaper makes the phone feel more fun and personalized. Animations and general navigation around the UI is also buttery smooth, and there are just so many small little touches in the UI that really add to the experience, such as a little bobbing effect when you get to the end of content, or the way the black fades in and out from the power button when you click it. The always on display is also both beautiful and functional, with a big clock, your battery percentage, and the fact that it identifies any song that's playing in the background. The Pixel 6 is also filled with awesome smart features too. Some of my favorite features include call screening, which lets Google Assistant take the call instead to help you avoid spam calls, different categories in the notification shade to separate conversations, and best of all, the new voice typing. Thanks to the AI improvements in the Tensor chip, Google is able to make transcriptions incredibly fast and accurate, and all offline. It can even fix grammar mistakes, do auto punctuation, and even send by voice. For me, it's actually replaced finger typing, especially when my hands are busy, and still blows my mind every single time I use it. By far, my favorite feature of this phone. Even though the software updates fix most of the bugs, there's still a few bugs left on the phone I can think of, such as the stupid System UI has crashed notification when it doesn't actually crash anything, occasional stuttering in some apps, back taps registering randomly when I don't even tap the back of the phone, and the rotate icon just not appearing at all sometimes. I've also faced issues where I can't pick up a call even though I'm swiping on it, and found signal strength to be weak on the phone, especially indoors. I'm pretty sure Google will iron out the rest of the bugs very soon, as this phone will have 3 years of Android updates and 5 years of security patches. And finally, it's time to talk about the cameras. All the past Pixels have always used the same 12 megapixel sensor, but this year, Google finally upgraded it to a new 50 megapixel sensor. This new sensor has a lot more detail and can capture more light for night photos, and the pictures taken with this phone come out looking beautiful and punchy, with everything being evenly exposed so you won't have crushed shadows or blown out highlights. The cameras are very consistent with exposure, focus, and colors too. However, the ultra-wide camera has a little bit of soft edges, has less detail than the main camera, and isn't very wide with a 114-degree field of view, especially when compared to other phones like the iPhone 13 or S21. You could honestly achieve the same look by just taking a few steps backwards. There's also no telephoto lens, which I really miss, especially for portraits and street photography, but I guess it's excusable for the price point. I would have loved to see Google at least throw in a cheaper standard 2x optical zoom lens though. And the old 8 megapixel selfie camera is pretty soft, but I don't really use it, so I don't care. There are also a ton of camera modes in the app. Night sight on the Pixels have always been amazing, and this is no exception. It looks really noisy when you're taking the photo in the viewfinder, but the end result after processing is amazing. Sometimes you can even see stars at night in the sky, which is just mind-blowing. But that's not to say it's perfect though. Night mode sometimes does give inconsistent white balance and tends to always be warmer than in real life. What's more impressive is the portrait mode though. The edge detection has evolved with each generation, and it's become fantastic on the Pixel 6. I think the blur is a little bit strong, but you can always just adjust that after the fact. There's also Google's new Face on Blur feature, so you'll never have a blurry face in your photos ever again. Google also added a few more gimmicky camera features, action pan and long exposure. They're both pretty fun to play with, and you get sometimes pretty cool results, but it's usually a hit or miss with those. Also, video looks great in good light with punchy colors and lots of contrast. There's also great stabilization, and you can finally shoot in 4K 60. Sadly, the selfie camera can only shoot in 1080p still, and doesn't look that great to be honest. On a good note, the mic does sound pretty decent. There's also a speech enhancement mode that aims to block out background noises. Here's a little comparison. So, I have my heater running in the background right now, and this is what video sounds like without speech enhancement. So I've turned on speech enhancement now, and this is what the mic sounds like in a video. So hopefully it should be reducing some of that heater noise in the background. Indoor and low light video is where it really falls apart, and trust me, it's not very usable. Here's a little sequence I made of the Pixel 6. And there's also overheating when you're shooting videos. I'm not sure if that's a problem with the Tensor chip or Android 12 in general, but it's really frustrating. I really hope it's something that Google can just fix through a software update. If you made it this far, thank you, and I hope that you can see this phone is amazing in so many areas. It's got amazing hardware, smart software, and awesome cameras, and that's all for the price of $599. There's really no reason to buy any other high-end Android phone unless, of course, you have the money to burn. It's great that Google has taken the spot that OnePlus left a few years ago and offer a true flagship killer at the right price. And on that note, thank you so much for watching the video. Feel free to leave any burning questions you have for me down in the comments below, and I'll definitely get to them. Also, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe button for more awesome tech content. Alright, stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.